The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. You're tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. It's Friday, 10th of February, and the time is 10 o'clock. You are tuned into Mother's Planet this morning, where there is always something to talk about in a productive and beneficial way. I'm your host, Neelum, and joining me on the show this morning is my guest, Hasina. But before I get her to introduce herself, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show, Sister Hasina.
Walaikum salam, sis. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Nearly the half term.
Oh, I know. I was just going to say today is the last day of term before the holidays kick in and we have half term. It's amazing because my body naturally kicks into this tired mode where the last 3 days before half term, it just feels like a huge drag. And I just can't wait for half term to start. So yes, I am very much looking forward to that, and more so because I don't have to get up so early.
Exactly, yeah.
Have you got any plans for half term?
This half term we haven't made many plans, so it's just see how it goes and maybe day outs and stuff like that.
Yes. Alhamdulillah, the weather's actually been good. I like to talk about the weather in my show, and the weather has actually been worked in our favour. It's actually been quite nice. We've had sunshine. It started off quite cold in the mornings, but it's built up over the day, and the sun has come out, so it's adding that little bit of warmth. For me, I've actually managed to get washing outside, and that's been quite nice, although it's not fully dried to how I'd like it, but it's nice just to get them air dried a little bit, so that's quite nice. Now, I know this week has been quite a sad week for Turkey and Syria with the humongous and devastating earthquake that had happened, taking thousands of lives. I mean, I think the last count that I read, it must be more now, it was about 15,000 lives, but I'm pretty sure that toll's risen. So I just wanted to make a small dua for those that have passed away through this earthquake. May Allah grant them the highest rank of heaven and give the family that have lost loved ones peace in their heart and strength to cope with this loss, inshallah. I mean, now, Sister Hasina, I know that you are doing some fundraising work to raise some money for the victims of this earthquake. So if you could just maybe just give a shout out to the listeners as to what you're doing and which charity you're working with to do this.
Yeah, so inshallah, it will be next Friday, and it's for Ummah Welfare Trust, where it's 100% donations, and it's an emergency appeal supporting all the earthquake victims as well. And it's going to be like a self-defense session where women and girls can come and learn realistic self-defense movements. So if you've got no experience in martial arts or self-defense, you can still come along, and it's very, very informative. So you can learn about how you can use your voice, the mental side of it, as well as the physical. And also we have a few girls that are going to be baking some cakes that will be selling at the event as well. So inshallah, please do come along next Friday, 7:30 to 8:30.
Yes, mashallah. And Sister Hasina, you are very generous here because all donations that's raised through this cause, inshallah, Hasina will be putting towards this much needed cause. So please do support her where we can. I know the community is quite a giving community, so inshallah, I'm sure if people can't turn up, they will make donations, Hasina.
Inshallah.
So thank you for sharing that with us. So listeners, we are live on air, reaching out to all our listeners in Luton and surrounding areas through the airwaves at Inspire FM 105.1 FM. You can also connect through TuneIn by the Inspire FM webpage. You can also download the Inspire FM app on your smartphones and listen to the show live that way. So really, listeners, you have absolutely no excuse to miss the shows. We are also live as an audio on the Facebook page, where you must like the show. And also you can leave any comments or questions around today's topic. I am taking in WhatsApp and text message on the studio number 07779 481 822. So if you have any questions around today's topic, please do message into the studio. Now, in today's show, my guest Hasina and I will be talking about the importance of physical fitness and self-defense, more so looking at how we can, as women, empower ourselves to use this self-defense in public, but using it in a safe way. And I'm really keen to hear Hasina's story around how she came to where she is today. So, and also the charity work, as you've heard, she's doing as well. But I think, Hasina, before I carry on going on about how amazing you are and the work that you are doing, I will let you speak and introduce yourself to the listeners.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hasina Rahman, and I am the owner of a club called Pink Diamond Martial Arts, which is a female-only martial arts club in Luton. I'm also an author, public speaker for anti-bullying. That's it.
Well, you missed out a really key thing there, Hasina. You're also a mother.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That's that's the top of the list. Mother of two lovely boys, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. And that's the hardest role. Of all the things that you've just said, motherhood is the hardest and the most challenging. Can I ask how old the boys are?
So the youngest is 7 and my eldest is 10.
Wow, mashallah. Okay, so a small gap between them. So, yes, I'm sure they have, like my children, have this love-hate relationship when they're like that. One day they'll get on like a house on fire, and the next they can't stand the sight of each other.
Definitely, yeah.
So that's children for you. Yes, that's where the challenge comes in. So yes, thank you for that. So I'm aware that you have been on the Urban Cube show, and you have talked to Sister Shamiza about a recent award that you were given. So you are like a mini celeb really on the show today as well. So I won't delve into that too much. For listeners that want to hear a bit more about the award and Hasina's journey onto that, please do catch up on the Urban Cube show with Sister Shamiza. You can hear a bit more about that. But can I just get you to briefly explain what the award was?
Yeah, so the award was in January, and it was the Inspiration Awards, where it was kind of like celebrities and non-celebrities and normal community people all kind of joined together, and it was held at the Landmark in London. So it was a very nice event, very posh event. Yeah. And there was loads of celebrities there, like Mary Berry. She won the Lifetime Achievement Award, and then there was Emma Thompson. Loads of different celebrities that got different awards, and I was awarded the Inspiration Award for 2023, which was very nice.
That's amazing. Yes, alhamdulillah. To have an award like that under your belt, I guess it must have been quite emotional for yourself because of the journey that you faced to get where you are today. So how was that for you emotionally?
I think I wasn't expecting to win it. It was a big surprise. And you know, when you're growing up and then you have the celebrities like it was Harry Redknapp and Emma Thompson looking at you, and obviously you're a visible Muslim woman. So it was quite nerve-wracking to get up there and speak. But alhamdulillah, when I was up there, I was like, this is my chance to kind of let people know how Muslim women can be, and, you know, we can do stuff in sports as well. So alhamdulillah, it was an experience, definitely.
Absolutely. And I, I think that's really inspiring that you were able to have that opportunity, because yes, I myself am guilty of it. When I think my hijab and my attire, it limits me. So I can't do certain sports, and I can't so I'm really happy to see that you were able to keep your modesty and still carry out your passion in this sport as well. So I guess I wanted to really understand a bit about your martial arts journey as to how you got to where you were. What was it that ticked that? What was it that clicked with you that, or inspired you, or who was it that inspired you that made you think, right, I need to do this?
I think fitness has literally been a part of my life, like my whole life. From the age of 7, it was just something that I always wanted to push myself physically. You know, when we were younger, it was easy to go and play outside. We used to be outside all day. I'm sure it's the same for you. You know, until it was like Maghrib time, you're always out. And it was something that I really enjoyed doing, being physically active. And martial arts was something that I wanted to do to kind of get my confidence. It was more about finding my confidence, and I wanted to do something that was empowering or something that could help me in my journey. And then that's when I started karate at the age of 15, 16, when I think it was near 11, I started karate, and they offered a free session for everyone to come and try it out. So I went to try it out, and then I fell in love, and then it just carried on. And 20 years later, still going.
Yeah, you found your calling very early, and what's interesting to hear. I mean, you know, coming from a South Asian community, we always had this fixation in our minds that when you grow up, you need to be a professional of some forms. You know, I find now my daughter's 16, she's doing her GCSEs, so I'm like, okay, so would you like to think about medical career, maybe, you know? But I've had to step back because you do have to listen to your children and let them do what ultimately they feel comfortable in, because if you force them into a career. So how was that with the family? So, you know, because I mean, you know, I assume we're similar age, growing up in that generation, to then as a hijabi Muslim girl to say, I want to be a martial arts expert, or I want to do this as a living, make a career out of this. How was your family? How did they take this?
I mean, my dad, my mum, they always wanted me to be a doctor, the doctor, or, you know, something big, like obviously teacher, doctor, something like that. I did actually, martial arts wasn't something that I wanted to do as a profession or as a job, but I started off, my first job was working in Nationwide Bank, you know, like bank jobs, you know, something like that, which is quite solid. And that's what I did growing up. I didn't do martial arts, I only did it as a hobby. So yeah, they weren't very keen on me doing martial arts to begin with, to be honest, especially as a girl. But I didn't really tell them that I was doing martial arts. So that's maybe the mistake I made. I should have been more open with them. But I didn't tell my parents, the reason being because they're from a very different generation, and they would have just said no straight away, not even listen to the reasons why I wanted to do it. Martial arts and girls, it doesn't really go. So I did the classes after school, and I said I was doing a fitness class, which is the truth anyway, because it is a fitness class. And I didn't tell them until I got my black belt in karate. And then I took the certificate, took the black belt, and I said, this is what I've been doing. I'm now a black belt. And they were shocked, but they were very impressed. And my mum was phoning her friends and cousins and saying, oh, my daughter's got a black belt. So I knew she was impressed. Yes. But obviously, it was something that I had to do for myself. But yeah, it's not something that parents would push their children to do because they think it's not maybe as good as other roles in life. So yeah.
And then any physical activity like that, you always think about injuries or your child being hurt. I mean, my sons have numerously amounts of times told me that they want to either be footballers or boxers when they're older. And I say to them, I'm not sure it's a career that you could, you know, I know they get paid ridiculously amount of money, but, you know, it's, you know, they've got broken nose, they've got, you know, limbs that aren't like they used to be. So I'm just not in favour of these sports. So I think when we talk to our parents about any physical sport like that, the first reaction is always safety of that child. Yeah. Now, I know briefly a little bit about your childhood experience, and I think some of it has been unveiled in your book. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I know that you didn't have a pleasant journey in school. So can I just get you to talk a little bit about, you know, I'm sorry, I know it's a sensitive topic, but you're a much stronger woman today and in a better place. I'm sure you can talk about it, but your memories of school life, and I know when you recall this is probably not fond memories like many of us may have.
Do you know what? The more I think sometimes when we do have experiences that are negative, the more you talk about it, the easier it does become. So alhamdulillah, I'm in a place where it doesn't affect me as much as it would have done when I first started speaking about it. So I went to a school in Dorset, which was 98% all white. So being a brown person, being a Muslim, going to a school like that, you haven't got much chance of not being bullied. So it was just something that is going to happen when you go to a school like that. And it did happen from, I think, the age of 11 till about 14, I think. So that's when the bullying was very, very strong. And it did obviously affect my confidence. I didn't like the way I looked, my skin color, or like who I was completely. Just, I wanted to be like them because then they would accept me. So it was a hard kind of thing to process. And the mistake I made is I didn't tell my parents, and I kind of ignored it, hoping that it would go away. But I think that's the biggest mistake you can make, is to ignore the problem. Yeah. So that's a mistake I made. And that's one of the reasons I got into karate after I left school, because I needed to find myself, and I need to find something that I enjoyed and discover who I was instead of who I wanted to pretend to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you said something very, very important there about speaking up. And, I guess that's a take-home message for those that are tuned in today that have young children that may be coming in. I mean, there must have been signs, but your parents obviously didn't pick up on it, where you were coming in and not happy. So, just as a parent, just look out for these signs for our children. And, and I think the key, as you mentioned, is to speak, because they always fear that if I speak it means it's real, and it means it's actually happening, and there's now going to be consequences, which they often don't really want to face. So thank you for sharing that with us. So having had that now and gone through that journey, has this impacted in the way that you raise your own children now? Have you thought twice about schooling for them? When you had your own children, did you, because you had quite a traumatic school life, did you treat it differently for them?
Definitely. If my boys come home from school and they're like, oh, this person's just punched me or something, I'll be straight down to the school. I've left it to them that if somebody does say anything to you and they keep saying it, it's not just one person. At that age, primary school, they're going to say things. And I said, obviously, if there's something that happens regularly, then it becomes bullying. So if somebody keeps calling you a bad name, then I've told them if they don't stop, then come to me and then we'll go to the school. You need to speak to the teachers. I think with bullying, you need to get to the situation very quickly. You can't let it go on for too long. So if there is a situation where someone's hitting or saying stuff to your children, you need to deal with it straight away and not let it carry on.
Yeah. I have a question to ask, and I can't take full credit for this question, because it was actually my elder daughter when I was talking to her about having yourself on the show. And she said that because I homeschooled her for a couple of years before she went into secondary school, and my purpose of homeschooling her was to give her the right tools to self-teach, because ultimately when you're in a school and in a classroom of 30 children, there are going to be things that you're just going to have to self-teach yourself. So I wanted her to be very independent and not needy. Now, I've not grown up in Luton. I grew up born and bred in London, and then came to Luton. So I had to bid farewell to my friends, my family, and I had to come to a town where I knew no one and stand up and sort of connect with people and find myself. So my purpose was again to educate her about not needing reliance on friends. You can be independent. And she said that when she started school, there were some issues, teething issues with some girls, and the girls were, really making her cross, and she stood her ground. She was very firm with them and stood up to them, but it was a build up, because she would come home and say, I'm not liking it, but I'm going to face the music. I've got to do it. And eventually when she did, she said, I had so much built up anger that I just lashed out. And I wasn't physical, but it was so out of character for her to shout the way she did and be so vocal that it shocked the girls that, wow, she's actually got some she's got a voice, so we're gonna back off. And so after that day, they never said anything to her. They did back off and they did move away, and but she said that she thinks if she was equipped physically, like if she did have martial arts or anything on the side, she's not sure she would know where to draw the line, because it gets to that stage where you're so angry. So, I mean, what's your advice on this? How do you control that? Like, you know, we're in an age now where if you've got the strength and you've got the skills, you're going to use it. So how do you draw the line?
Do you know what? If people who meet me, so say for me, for example, I've been doing karate. I did karate from the age of 15. I got my black belt, then I did kickboxing, I got my black belt, then I did Muay Thai, got my black belt, then I did MMA. If you didn't see me or if you didn't know who I was, you'd think this person's probably quite aggressive. They probably look quite, you know, muscular or something. And people who come to my class, the biggest thing, and alhamdulillah, we've got over 100 students in my club now. And the main thing that they say is that I project some kindness, and that's what draws them into the class. So one thing that I've learned from martial arts is it gives you personal growth as well as physical growth. And one thing I've learned from it is how to not deal with it with physical. The one thing that we teach is not to be physical. You have all the equipment to be physical, but it's the mindset that you have to control to not let it get to that stage where you're going to be physical. Someone who isn't experienced, who went to one boxing class, maybe they'll go and use it in the streets thinking, yeah, I can beat someone up. But if you come to martial arts and you've learned the aspect of it, it's all mental. It's not as much physical as it is mental, because you have to learn to control yourself in especially situations like that as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, that it is all about having the right mindset and dealing with the situation using your mind more than your physical force, because you're just equalizing yourself. If you just start getting physical, it's just equalizing yourself. You're not actually using your mind wisely. So I guess that's a good piece of advice there. Now, listeners, if you have just tuned in, where have you been this morning? I have the lovely Hasina with me this morning, and we are talking about the importance of martial arts and self-defense, especially as Muslim women. And I am taking in any questions that you may have, which is on the studio number 07779 481 822. I should know that number, but I still keep making reference to the paper whenever that number's being said. So if you were now to face a young girl that was being bullied. Now, I know that there's a lot going around in the news recently about a young black girl in a school in Ashford, I believe, was bullied outside the school. And, you know, this is a college. So they're 16-year-olds and above. So to behave in that manner is absolutely appalling. If you were faced with a situation like that where you saw somebody being bullied, it would obviously flood back memories of your own experience. How does that make you feel, and what would you do?
I think it's the same for everybody. I mean, if we saw someone like a young person getting bullied, it would just make you very upset. Obviously, that kind of situation, it could be one person against 10. It could be one. It's usually, with bullies, they come in a gang, because sometimes you won't see many bullies come by themselves. They will come with other people because they know that they can get you. And I think the one thing that we have to instill in our children from a very young age is to have a lot of confidence, because bullies do not approach people that have a lot of confidence. They go for someone who's shy, who's kind, who's quiet. Is usually the ones they know that won't come back for them, kind of thing. So it's our job as parents to instill that confidence in them. One thing I would say is to get them into sports, any sports. Sports is such a good thing, because most of the time you won't get a child who's doing sports get bullied, because you're seen as a different category when you're doing sports, like a strong person. And I think it's so important for us to not just even the bullies. I think they obviously are suffering a lot as well. The reason they bully sometimes is because they have situations at home, they're not happy with themselves, so what they do is they project it onto someone else.
Yes.
And I think it's both ways. We need to work with our children to make sure they have that confidence, but instill that kindness in them as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
No, and that's very key what you said there, because in the end, when my daughter confronted the particular girl, because she was like the domino in the gang, when she confronted her and said, why are you being like this? And she said, it's because you weren't in the school for 2 years and you've come back and all these girls are magnetizing to you, and you're in the top sets, and you're in the top sets. How did you become so popular? I worked 2 years to get to the position I am, and you've just come in and your aura is, attracting all these girls. So I think when she realized what it was, she realized that it wasn't a malicious thing. It was just a typical girl.
Yeah. A bit of jealousy there, yeah.
Yeah, so she backed off a bit. Now, believe it or not, Hasina, we have actually come to the first half of the show, so we are going to go into a short commercial break. Listeners, this is your cue to either get those questions typed in and sent to us around today's topic on the studio number 07779 481 822, or your chance to go refill your hot drink or cold drink, whatever it is that you're having with me this morning. So, Hasina, have you got your tea ready with you?
I'm going to warm it up. It's my coffee.
Okay, good stuff. So you go do that in this short commercial break. And join us back after the break, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Mother's Planet. It's Friday, 10th of February, and the time is now 10:30. I'm your host, Neelum, and joining me on the show this morning is my guest, Hasina. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So Hasina and I so far in the show have been talking about more so Hasina's journey as to where she has come from and what has inspired her to do martial arts, self-defense and fitness. So any questions you have around today's topic, please do share that with us on the studio number 07779 481 822. Now, I wanted to ask Hasina, I don't know if the hijab was something that you wore from day dot or if it was something that you adopted later in your later part of your life. But how do you balance hijab and sports? Because, do the two go? How have you made it work?
I didn't wear the hijab. I think I started wearing it since the age of 25. So it wasn't something that I've been wearing since I was younger so it was something that I adopted later on. With my classes, obviously, because it's strictly female only, everyone takes the hijab off, it's t-shirt, leggings and everything. That's the reason why I kept it strictly female. So even when we do tournaments, it's strictly female only. I want the ladies to feel comfortable. I want them to take their hijabs off and, work out in an environment where they're comfortable as well. Yeah. There are girls that still wear the hijabs, which I've got no problem with. And there's a lot of sports hijabs around now as well. When I did my MMA training, which was after I had my kids, that's when I had to train with the hijab and everything fully covered. And it wasn't much different, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a lot harder with the hijab and covered up completely, but it wasn't. It was something that I think just made it more powerful, because we're doing it in a way where we're wearing our kind of outfit, modesty outfit, and you can still do it. So I know that shouldn't limit you to do anything. Like, I know there's a lot of ladies that go running now. When I go outside, I see a lot of people running with hijabs and stuff on. So definitely it should not limit you in anything. I think we can do everything with the hijab on.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I agree with you. And I think as time has progressed, women are getting more and more confident about wearing their attire and doing sports. Because when I go back to looking at my mum's generation, I know that they felt very restricted. I mean, now you can get a lot of westernized attire, but it's quite modest, sorry. So you are still covered and you're not, whereas my parents, my mother wore shalwar kameez. So, for her to be wearing shalwar kameez and doing sports, it just didn't feel right for her. So I know she always used to enjoy swimming, because there used to be a lady session swimming, and she always forever went swimming, and I tagged along with her. And I used to go, I think I cramped my mum's style, because my mum is a swimmer, because she could swim on her front or her back, do a frog swim, and I was just splashing water. So I think I embarrassed her more than actually making her feel like this is my daughter. So I think she just wanted to disown me sometimes. But yeah, it was great seeing her have that outlet where it was, and I think it's really good that as time's progressing, there are more and more facilities that are strictly ladies only, where ladies are able to, comfortably, if they want to take the hijab off, they can actually do so and do the sports. So it's, and I guess for you, that was probably one of the key things, once you did start wearing the hijab, that actually, because I know my older daughter, she says to me that I'm going to do whatever I need to do for my career, but I am going to make a community centre for women where they can just come and they can just go and have a swim, and they can do everything without having to have fixed timetables of, there's going to be men around. And I just want it to be a total.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so she's very much inspired in doing this. I think I should probably be more successful in Dubai or something like that. But we'll see what the future holds for her. Inshallah, I wish her on that journey. So yeah, so I'm keen to know, Hasina, how you juggle mummy life in all the many hats that you wear, and how you run your own business, and everything that you're doing. How do you juggle mummy life?
I think you have to make your priorities right. So obviously my kids always come first, and obviously dropping them to school, and then it's just organising your time. So I know that dropping them off to school, then coming and do my own workouts, then I have my admin and my personal training that I have to do, and then I pick them up from school, and then that's their time. So I've kind of set it all out so it fits in with my kids when they need me, and I need to be there for them. And my classes are usually from Fridays and weekends, when I know my husband is home as well. So he's got his part where he has to make sure he's there for the kids. And my busiest time is from Friday to Sunday. And then the weekday I do personal training while they're in school and stuff like that. So just prioritizing your time and making sure that you're there for the kids as well as your business as well.
Yes, absolutely. And the other things like housework and, everything, because I admire women that are managing, several careers and actually, because now you don't do any banking. So your sole career and dedication is to.
I've left that side. Yeah. It's just focusing on the business. It's part-time kind of thing. So I'm not, it's not full-time, but it's just because I'm doing everything, the admin and all that stuff, so it takes a long, long time to do all that. So it's literally, to be honest, I'm working all night anyway, doing all the admin, advertising, marketing. So it's something where I can fit around the family, which is, I think, alhamdulillah, blessed to be able to do that.
Yeah. And I guess there's a very important figure in your life there as well that's helped facilitate this, and that be your husband. So I think that, him taking part in helping out with job sharing the children, having the children so you could do your thing. So I guess it's free to say you can give your husband a big shout out here. Thank you for the support. But
right.
I like that modesty there. Yes, no, it's true. I mean, it's a good, you obviously have a very much a good working relationship where you can both balance each other's lifestyles and still be there as a family as well. So, mashallah, may that continue as well. And, so I guess when I was referring to the hijab and your recent award, you didn't change your image in any way to fit into the society or the class that you were around. You upheld your own image, your faith, your background. It was all there. You didn't have to say, right, actually, for this event, I'm going to just maybe wear the hijab loosely. And, how was that? Was that something that you did with careful thought, or was that something that came to you as second nature?
Do you know what? Growing up, I've always wanted to fit in. I've always wanted to be like other people. And it was a struggle for me. I never felt like I fitted in anywhere. All my friends knew what they like. Even with careers, they all knew what they wanted to do. Everyone knew who they were and how they looked, or they could just put anything together and it looked amazing. And I always struggled with that. I always struggled with who I was, who I wanted to be. Anybody who asked me, what do you want to be, I literally couldn't answer. And now I'm at a stage where I literally don't care. I know who I am. I know what my faith is. And alhamdulillah, I've grown to get closer to my faith. And to me, to be able to go to that event where there was hardly any, I think me and my friend were the only ones with hijabs on or Muslim. So it was kind of like a good experience because we were showing them how modesty can be, but then you can achieve things by being modest at the same time. You don't have to give up your modesty to be able to be accepted. You should always be very true to who you are. And that's something that I've learned in my late 30s. So alhamdulillah. Yeah.
No, I mean, and, you know, it's great because there's women out there that still, you know, even in their late 30s, mid 30s, early 30s, that have this crisis of, you know, identity crisis. And identity crisis, especially in the South Asian community, is a huge issue. And this is not just with women, it's with the men as well, because, you know, as well as us having to be modest, it's the same for the men. They have to be modest, but they need to fit in. And so I think getting to that stage of, you know, I mean, I'm really keen to know how you got yourself to the stage of I'm happy with where I am and how I am, because it's very hard to, I'm sure it's not an overnight process, and I can imagine it being something that you've worked towards. But when was it? Because you said it was around 20s, your mid 20s, when you started to wear the hijab. So, what was it in your life that happened that made you think, right, now is the time to, you know, I'm sure you were a practicing Muslim all your life, but to then say, right, I outwardly want to practice my faith. What was it? What was the light bulb that went on?
I think, do you know what it was? I think everything was going too well. As in, like, I had martial arts was very, I used to train 5 times a week. I was doing in-club tournaments within, like, Bournemouth. I had a very good job. I was getting money. I had my own house. Everything was literally, I had everything. And by that time, I had loads of friends. I was very popular. It was just, everything was going well, but I knew something was missing. I knew that there was a gap, and I knew that it was my faith. So it was my decision that I pushed to get married. I pushed to start wearing the hijab. Then I went to Umrah, alhamdulillah, and everything just fell into place. Before I became the person I wanted to be, but I wasn't happy. So then I knew that it wasn't me, so I had to change everything and become something which would bring me closer to Allah, which is what all of our goals should be anyway. And once I set that path, I knew I was going down the right path, and I changed my outlook in life as well, that we should not ever try to please other people. We should only try and please one person. I mean, Allah, and that's it. So that was my main mission, is to get closer to my religion and stay on the right path, inshallah.
Inshallah, alhamdulillah, may Allah keep it that way as well. And that's really good. And, you know, and that's nice that you had that journey, and as you got married you were able to complete Umrah, because I always now, in my late wise old age, whenever I talk to the young youth and I say, when you get married you should think before you have children, but make sure you do this and do that and do this with your spouse, because it's so important that you connect and then have children, because once the children come along, it's, you know, your devotion goes to your children. And, you know, I've been married 17 years, and my devotion is still with my devotion is still with my children, because, you know, when I cook, my husband's adding chili and salt to the food because I've cooked it to the children's taste, not his. So
they're always at the top of your list, aren't they?
Absolutely. So so I think, you know, I always say to young couples that, you know, just get to know each other first, and you know, and then explore that side of life and then go on. So, I mean, now I know the girls of today, and you may see some of this when you have the young girls coming to your class. have got fixated with the way they look. Now, you and I are from an age where, you know, we've come in with wisdom, so we know that how our look is not as important as what's coming from our mind, from our heart, and how we are with people and experiences in life. You know, I think my motherhood has totally changed me. I see things totally different now. I think I'm more forgiving with people. I let things go, whereas the younger part of me would not have probably been as calm. But the girls today are very focused on the way they look, and my daughter said this year when she went back to school in year 11, the number of girls in her year group that have started to wear makeup was just, the teachers actually keep wipes in the front of the classroom now. And they ask the girls to take some of the makeup off because it's so much. And how do you tackle this? I don't know if the girls that attend your class are still image conscious, you know, and how they look, but how do you tackle this? You know, how do you take their focus away from what they look like to actually having the right mindset?
Do you know, I was telling my friend the other day, like, I feel very blessed with the girls that come to my class because they all are extremely, like, very, very generous, very kind, especially from such a young age, because I look at myself when I was their age, I was like, they're so confident, they're so, like, accommodating to other people that come to the class. And like with the makeup, I don't think that's their priority. I think the ones that come to my club, they're very into sports or martial arts, and or they've got their personal reasons why they're coming. But obviously, when you come to the class, you can't have long nails, you can't have jewelry, you can't, I wouldn't say, not many girls wear makeup, to be honest. And it's something I want them to feel comfortable, like to be able to be truly themselves without having to impress anybody. I think when you come to something like martial arts, you don't need to impress anyone with your looks. It's more the physical side. And once they are truly confident with their physical side, then we can work on the mental side as well. And I always find when I do a lot of events as well, where we always elaborate on the fact that everybody is unique. Allah made everybody different, and we've all got unique skills, unique looks, different skin color, different everything. And you should be proud of who you are and the way you look, and shouldn't feel like you have to change it. Your makeup is fine if you want to enhance what you have. There's no problem. I wear makeup. Everybody wears makeup here and there, and there's no harm in that. But it's just not relying on it and thinking that you are less without it. That's the one thing that I want to get across to the young children that do come to my class is you are beautiful just the way you are.
Yeah. And I do think it's really important to emphasize the age thing, because I discovered makeup probably when I was about 18 or 19, and I used to work with a health and beauty superstore then at the time. So that's when I got experimental with perfumes and makeup, and I thought, oh, this is makeup, this is how we do it. So I discovered it later. I think it's now trying to get the children to think back, you're only 15, 16, so you don't need to, you know, as you get older, as you said, to enhance your features and, you know, just to make yourself look different when you go to events or things like that. It's fine to do so, but to rely on it daily, because my fear is with young girls wearing makeup is that they can wear so much every day that the day they don't wear it, everyone will be like, are you okay? Something
exactly.
You've got yourself used to having this image that not holding that image up again, people are concerned about. So I think that's key there, that just to wear it, but wear it modestly. And again, it comes down to the modesty aspect of things as well, you know, where when needed and how as well. So, you know, now you've got young girls and women, I assume, in your classes as well that come, and they are, do you think it's important for women in general to have self-defense techniques or some form of martial arts experts? Do you think all women should have this? You know, we're living in a day and age where it's not safe to walk around on your own. In the winter months, it's even harder. I had Sister Shemiza on the show with me last week, and she's been walking all across Luton. And
I know, she's been amazing.
Yeah, I know. Big shout out to Shemiza, because I think she's cycling now, but I think she's so she's on. I have no idea what's in store for March for her, so I dread to. It'll probably be
doing really well.
Yeah, she's doing so well, but. we talked about safety for women when it comes to walking, and she did say that she felt like she had to equip herself a little bit and pick the times that she was going for her walks, and the areas as well, busy areas. And so, do you think it's important that women in general have some form of self-defense or something that they can use for themselves, or is it more a case of just being vigilant?
I think obviously having self-defense skills gives you that extra skill. So if there is a situation where you had the skills to get away, you would use it to get away. Obviously the main thing is awareness, making sure that you're in a place where it's well lit. If you're walking around at night, try and go with someone else, don't go by yourself. And if you hear about the news, it's always on the news that some woman is suddenly just attacked, and if you look at it, it's always the women that are quite petite that get attacked. So if you're someone around 5'1" to 5'3", you're more likely to be attacked.
Yeah.
And it's usually park areas. It's usually when it's dark. You just have to be very, very careful as a woman. Even like my husband jokes with me. He's like, "Oh, you'll be safe. You can walk anywhere. You can beat them up." And I was like, "No, I don't want to, because me as a woman, even if you train for 20 years, your strength is nothing compared to a man, because a man's strength is different."
Yeah. So
just because you do, I don't know, powerlifting or fitness and stuff, you might have a better chance to escape if you're strong, or if you have that fitness, or you can run fast to get away. But it doesn't mean that you can overpower a man, because a man's strength is different. Some they usually attack from the back. From the back, you don't have much chance if they grab you around the neck. In MMA, we do teach how to escape someone who grabs you from behind, or grabs your hair, grabs your hijab, or gets you in a headlock. So we do practice that. But what happens at that exact moment, we don't know. You can know every martial arts, but when it comes to that time, if you don't have the confidence to stay calm, nothing's going to work. So I think it's a lot about about the mindset, skill, everything just comes into place. And sometimes when you practice something a lot, it's second nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
So with martial arts, if you've been practicing for a long time, it'll just come naturally. Like sometimes if I see some of my students in the streets, I'll just go and tap them and see how they react. Yeah. And sometimes their reaction is very quick, and I love it. And I'm like, yes, you're learning. So alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
I think it's very good to have that skill, but obviously you have to work on your mental as well as your physical as well.
Yeah. And I guess in those situations, because your body, as you say, reacts to, you can prepare yourself so much for a situation, but when you're thrown in that situation, your body it goes heavy, and you just totally just have that out of, I don't remember anything now. So I think then is when you, would think of safety, and it's not.
People can't use their voice. When you're in a situation where if a man was right in front of you and he's going to put your hands on you, some people lose their voice, so they can't scream. So that's one thing that we practice in the self-defense classes, is we use our voice, and we try and scream and try and use the voice to get attention from everywhere. And that's what I want.
Yeah, and I think that's really key advice there as well for anyone that is listening in. And God forbid, may Allah protect all the women of the community, that we ever face any situation like that. But yes, the voice, when your body goes heavy, the voice is the only thing that you have going for yourself at that time. So, So, who's been your pillar of strength? Who's kept you going? Who would you? I'm sure there's probably many. Or who's your role model that you've said that this is who I look up to and I aspire to?
Do you know what? The one person that I would say at the top of my list is obviously my mum. She raised 6 kids, and in a generation where it was very tough when they came over, and obviously she's one of the main ladies who's shown me how to be mentally strong. And with my dad as well, it's always around kindness. They're very, very into being kind to others. They taught me the real values of life. So I really appreciate that from having learned that from my parents. But in regards to role models, I don't think growing up as a Muslim woman, seeing someone that looked like me, or someone that was a visibly Muslim. There was nobody. So I couldn't really say that I had any role models growing up, because maybe I imagined someone that is me now that I can be like. So it was someone that I kind of imagined in my head that was into martial arts, who did fitness stuff, who was empowering other people. And yeah, alhamdulillah. So maybe it was me, my future self is my role model.
Yes, mashallah, alhamdulillah. And look where you are today. So, amazing. So, Hasina, you've got a really calm and persona about yourself. You don't seem to come phased by anything. And I love the way you have this real peaceful aura about yourself, and you've got a humble approach to everything that's thrown at you. What's your secret?
I think you have to, in a way, you have to get the dunya isn't very long. So we don't know when everything will end. And I think you have to make a priority of your list and what's important to you. And I think the little things where worrying what other people think, or if I do this, maybe it's not going to work out, and all the other negative ideas you have in your head, you have to get rid of them and be fearless, go for it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but at least you tried it. And that's how I think my whole life, I think from a very young age, if somebody told me to jump off something, I'd do it because I never had that fear. Yeah. As in like, oh, can you jump from here to there? I'd do it where other people might think, oh, I'm not going to make it. But with me, it was always like, you don't know unless you try. Mm-hmm. So even with the books I wrote, I didn't have any knowledge of how to write a book. I didn't have an experience. So my message was clear. I wanted to get the message to everyone. It wasn't about making money. It wasn't about anything else. It was just getting my message across and trying to help at least one person with their confidence, or dealing with bullies, or seeing the signs of bullies. So I think that's one of the things that I've always had is be fearless, go for it.
Yeah, mashallah. And that's lovely there as well. And I think you're right. You've got to remember that we aren't here for long. I mean, in the recent days, I've heard so many people passing away,
very young people as well. Yeah.
And so it just makes you realise that you have no idea. So I think, keep good ties with people and, just live your life the way you want to live it. Now, we are coming towards the end of the show now, Hasina, and I want to say a huge thank you to you for taking out the time to join me this morning.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. And I know you're a very busy lady, and I know that taking the time out to join Chatty Me on the show is not easy, but it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I've got no doubt that listeners were able to take something positive from your words of wisdom today. So thank you for sharing that all with me this morning. And I also wish you very best for next Friday, the charity fundraising event.
Thank you so much.
We didn't mention where it was being held, so if you could just...
So it's going to be All Saints Church Hall in Warwick Road, Luton.
Okay.
So it's a big church hall. I think there's a lot of Mendis that happen there, so people might know where it is. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And my quote for today, the hard part isn't getting your body in shape. The hard part is getting your mind in shape. Jummah Mubarak and Assalamu Alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.